The Age of Rust is the Cybertronian era preceding the war we see in Transformers Prime. The Golden Age just ended, and Cybertron destroyed all portals connecting to its colonies to save itself from a spreading rust plague. Isolated, what happens to Cybertron next? Although Cybertron now only needs to feed a smaller population, they are still low on energon. Fear of the plague and the need to ration energon encourages society to rely on an old and secure social order, the caste system of form and function. The caste system was implemented by Quintessons a long time ago when they were enslaving Cybertronians while trying not to let them know they were being enslaved. Cybertronians still believe there is sense in the idea that everyone is best at one thing and meant for that one thing alone. They never stopped dividing people into roles primarily based on what body the Cybertronian had. But more than before, Cybertron becomes incredibly oppressive. Cybertronians are being created without any sense of self or name, and everyone around them devalues them as individuals. These new Cybertronians don't even know better themselves that their lives are worth living. So they wind up doing manual labor, an extremely dirty and dangerous job with a high mortality rate. They don't really see a point in living, and middle-class bots experience a similar feeling, but from their sheer boredom. The general population of Cybertron acquires extreme interest to entertain themselves. Gambling, racing, aerobatics, extreme sports, and the gladiatorial fights the most popular of them all. Small groups of people protest the morals of the gladiatorial fights, but they are drowned out as even the world leaders realize that these violent activities satisfy people and keep them obedient and tame. These fights take place mostly in the south of Cybertron and include the brutish slaves fighting each other for the faintest feeling of glory and attention. The High Council who controls Cybertron includes Soundwave. Soundwave is the only one who realizes how Cybertron is devolving. He passionately points out the hopelessness of the people and the need to stop assigning them based on form and function. Soundwave listens to the chatter of millions of people and hears how uninspired and depressed they are, and he is desperate to change Cybertron immediately. He accuses the other counselors of doing nothing and justifying the good of the caste system to themselves. The leaders argue, then decide they should spend more time doing nothing but research. Enraged, Soundwave immediately quits the council to willingly live among the poor in Kaon. Alphatron seems to be part of this council, or at least someone who records what goes on in these meetings. Alita 1 is mentioned as another counselor along with Halogen, and Sentinel Prime continues to be Cybertron's puppet prime with no special abilities at all. After Soundwave's outburst, Alphatron realizes that Cybertron does need some inspiration. He drives to Vector Sigma hidden in the Sea of Rust, and for those who don't know, Vector Sigma was a computer the Primes created in their past with a connection to Primus. Vector Sigma is so advanced that he may now have the status as a living being. Vector Sigma claims he doesn't know where the Matrix is, but he gives Alphatron the badge of Vector Prime, which Vector Prime used to wear on his armor, and it had some astral energy in it. Alphatron takes it home, and it interacts wildly with one of Alphatron's relics, the Quill. They exchange energy and do something to the Covenant of Primus, leading Alphatron to the terrified belief that he accidentally wrote into the future of the book. Alphatron gives the badge to Sentinel Prime, although it is powerless to him, to try and inspire him to do good things. After this, the gladiator calling himself Megatronus arises and freaks the crap out of Alphatron. Megatronus' name becomes Megatron after the chanting of a crowd. He was originally a nameless slave called D16 for the section of the mine he worked in. Orion Pax, an archivist who worked under Alphatron, becomes inspired by this gladiator's speeches of equality and freedom. Orion Pax has his own idea of what needs to happen to create change, however. He believes that change should come quietly and peacefully, while Megatron wants to demand change right now, even if it requires violence to topple the government. As Transformers Prime briefly describes, Megatron and Orion go together to speak to the High Council in front of a large audience. It is likely that Alita 1 is still part of the council, just not mentioned in the Covenant of Primus and Exodus. Exodus, the first novel of Transformers Prime's universe, goes into detail about what is said during this scene. Ultimately, the council hears Megatron's intimidating speech about wanting to overthrow the old order. The council is not happy to hear that. Orion's idea of peaceful political change inspires them. They name Orion the new Prime and give him the quest to search for the Matrix. What was not mentioned here was the fact that Sentinel Prime disappeared because he was kidnapped before this court scene. But now naming a middle caste bot a Prime instead of him makes Megatron extremely angry. He had fought hard to get recognition, so he believes Orion and the council are against him and will not make life better for the lower castes. He legitimately feels betrayed, and many bots in the crowd agree with him. After verbally lashing out at Orion, Megatron's followers, the Decepticons, turn their weapons on the followers of Orion, the Autobots. Optimus, as the Council renamed him, tells the Autobots to stand down and let the Decepticons go. What the Covenant of Primus doesn't mention is Megatron killing one of the High Counselors, Halogen, before escaping. It is this scene that separates Megatron and Optimus, divides Cybertron, and starts the war. Both sides wanted to change Cybertron but disagreed on how it would be done. Megatron connects Optimus to the lazy Sentinel Prime who condemned people under the oppressive caste system. The Decepticons are composed mostly of slaves who lived the same life as Megatron, and they refuse to accept the Archivist Optimus as a leader who will bring change.